Okay, boys and girls, come sit on a mat for our story. Make sure you sit on your bottom so that all your friends can see. And if you have any questions during the story, you can raise a quiet hand and I'll stop. We're going to be reading a story today about weather. What do you guys know about weather? Does anybody know what temperature is or what a thermometer is? Okay, well we're going to find out now. Weather by Rena Kirkpatrick. Illustrated by Janetta Lewin. That means she drew the pictures for the story. What is temperature? You do not need coats in the summer. In some places, you need coats in the winter. You can feel heat during summer and cold during winter. You feel the difference in temperature. How can you measure temperature? One way to measure temperature is with a thermometer. It measures in numbers called degrees. Use a thermometer to measure temperature in the shade. Keep a temperature chart of each day's temperature. Do any of you boys and girls have a thermometer at your house? Maybe your mommies and daddies check the weather before you come to school in the morning to see what you should wear. What might a thermometer show in winter? The thermometer in the picture shows that the temperature is very cold. Ponds freeze and snow falls. You can skate, ski, and sled. How is ice different from water? Does anybody know how ice is different from water? Very good. Ice is frozen water. Water takes up less space than ice. Snowflakes are crystals of ice. Fluffy snowflakes take up a lot of space. When a bucket full of snow melts, only a little water is left. What do people do when it rains? Sometimes it rains when the sky is dark and gray. Then people carry umbrellas and wear raincoats. Galoshes keep their shoes dry. Does anybody know what galoshes means or what a galosha is? They're like rain boots. Sometimes when you boys and girls come to school, you wear rain boots to make sure that your pants and feet stay nice and dry. Galoshes is a fancy word for rain boots. When can you see a rainbow? Sometimes the sun shines after it rains. If you stand with your back to the sun, you might see a rainbow. Rainbows are made by the sun shining through raindrops. How can you measure the amount of rainfall? A funnel in a bottle can be put out in the rain. This is called a rain gauge. The bottle collects rainwater. You can measure the amount of water. What do rain clouds look like? There are many kinds of clouds. Only some of them bring rain. Rain clouds are dark and ragged. They are low in the sky. This is called a cumulonimbus cloud, which is a fancy word for a rain cloud. What are other clouds like? Some clouds are high in the sky. They are thin and wispy. You can see blue sky through them. They are in the sky on clear, sunny days. They are not rain clouds. This is called a cirrus cloud. Other clouds are puffy on top and flat underneath. You might see them on a nice summer afternoon. They do not bring rain either. You might see them after it has rained. So these cumulus clouds you'll see on a pretty day, but they're not rain clouds, but we might see them after a rainstorm. What is thunder and lightning? Lightning is like a very large electric spark. Air moves away from the spark. Then it rushes back and bumps into other air. The bumping crashes and rumbles, making thunder. How important is the weather? Everybody notices weather. Sun and clouds are part of almost every outdoor scene that you or your friends might paint. And I'm sure you boys and girls notice the weather on the days that because it's rainy, we can't go outside to the playground. What is fog? Air is clear some days. On other days, tiny drops of water are in the air. We call the drops fog. Smoke and other tiny things in the air mix with the fog. Sometimes fog is very thick. Ships sound their foghorns. Airplanes cannot take off. On the highway, warning lights flash to tell drivers to be careful. Why do you think that fog can be dangerous? We can't get up fly in an airplane, or we may have trouble driving. Very good, because it makes it very hard for us to see when it's really thick fog. What is the wind like? Wind is another part of weather. Sometimes there is no wind at all. The air is still. It takes a long time for clothes to dry. Sometimes the air moves. The wind might blow gently. It might blow strongly. Wind can blow from any direction. If you take a look outside the window now, you may see some of the trees or the leaves blowing a little bit because it's not a still wind today. What is very strong wind like? A very strong wind is called a gale. Gales can break branches off trees. Gales can blow over garbage cans. What is a whirlwind? Wind that blows around in circles is called a whirlwind. Small whirlwinds blow dust and small twigs. Strong whirlwinds are called tornadoes. Tornadoes can do a lot of damage and hurt people. We don't see very many tornadoes around here. What is a weather vane? Weather vanes show you the direction from which the wind is blowing. They point into the wind. This on top is the weather vane. Usually they put them on top of a building at the highest point so that it'll tell us which way the wind is going. You can make a weather vane. Follow the directions in the picture. The pointed card will point into the wind. If this is something you boys and girls might like to do, maybe as a class we can make our own weather vane and we can track the wind. How can you measure the wind? Build a machine like the one in the picture. The flap should face the wind. Numbers on the side do not tell speed, but you can use them to compare the wind strength from one day to the next. How can you keep track of the weather? You can use symbols to keep track. Some possible symbols are shown in the picture. You might want to make a daily chart. Some of the symbols that they're showing us are rain, sun, snow, thunderstorm, cloud, fog, gale, and the wind direction. Does this look familiar to any of you boys and girls? That's right, when we do our weather watcher in the morning, we keep track of the weather. But maybe we can start taking a chart and doing every day to compare the weather instead of just doing one day at a time. How else can you learn about weather? People on television tell about weather. They have weather maps and charts. Weather people are not always correct. How do the weather people learn about the weather? Weather ships give information about weather. They send reports from the ocean. The ships stay in the ocean for a long time. Where else do weather reports come from? Weather satellites orbit the Earth. Does anybody know what a satellite is? Very good, it's up in the sky. We can't see it, and it sends us back information. Do you know what orbit means? Orbit means that it circles the Earth. They send back pictures of clouds. The pictures tell about the weather above the land. How is weather important to farmers? Farmers need rain to make crops grow. They need sun to ripen crops. Sometimes animals get lost in the snow. Okay, boys and girls, that was our story today about weather. Are there any questions? We're going to talk more about it, and we're going to start doing some projects about weather so that here in our classroom we can have our own science lab and experiment, and we can start learning more about weather and seeing it for ourselves.